Welcome back, everyone. This is Ebonie, a.k.a. Fit Mom Diva of Simplicity Health Style, and today we have Miss Anna Leigh with us. How are you, Anna Leigh?
I am fantastic.
I am so glad that you were able to have a conversation with us today, you guys. She's a busy lady, and if you do stick around to the end, she might have something to offer you to collaborate with her, and I as well might have something to offer you. So stick around, listen to what she wants to share with us today. Can you start us off just by telling us about a motivational quote that really inspires you and gets you going?
Yeah. Okay. So a quote that really kind of drives me is, your story could be the key that unlocks someone else's prison. Don't be afraid to share it.
Beautiful. And that is so true because I find that we all have things that we can offer to other people. It's just a matter of us putting that out there for the world to know that we have that gift or we have that talent or we have that emotional intelligence that that person might be needing at that particular moment. I love that. I think that we all can learn from each other, and we all do learn from each other.
Yeah.
Talk about a time when you applied that quote to your life and perhaps you didn't necessarily see the light at the end of the tunnel and you had to overcome some obstacles, but at the end of the day you were able to bring your goal or your dream to fruition.
Yeah. So with my blog, I'm very honest about my struggle with mental health and all that fun stuff. But what I don't talk about as much, which has really been very prevalent in the last couple of years, is a struggle with PTSD. I had been in a very abusive relationship, and I thought when I got out of it, I was like, oh, I'm out, it's fine. And I didn't realize that post-traumatic stress disorder is a very real thing, even for emotional and psychological abuse. So when I got to college, all of my memories came back of a lot of the abuse I had experienced. And that was really scary because I was in college and I'm an honors student, and I was like, I need to focus on all of this. I'm trying to make new friends, and here I am having flashbacks in my classes or having anxiety attacks walking down the sidewalk. I couldn't talk to my male peers. It was a very scary moment, and I didn't really understand what was going on. But I started going to counseling, which I'm a big believer in. And that really started to help, as they helped me process through things and realize things about myself and realize the tools within me to manage not only the PTSD and pre-existing mental health situations, but also just how to empower myself and how to take control back in my life. So where this quote kind of ties in is something that the therapist at my school helped me realize, is that sharing my story actually helped so much more than any other tool I had. So it started out just writing. I wrote a blog about abuse and what that felt like, and what forgiving your abuser looks like. And it kind of went from there, and I realized, wow, this feels so good. It was like a weight had been lifted, and all of a sudden it wasn't his story. It wasn't my brain chemistry warping something. It was no longer, something I had no control over. It was something I took control of. And when I started sharing, I would get messages from people. I had no idea they'd gone through anything in their life, and they started messaging me saying, hey, you have no idea how much I needed this. And so it kind of went from there, just something that was very dark and very scary that I honestly had no idea how it was going to work out, has now become honestly a platform for me to be more bold about my story and speak to women and men on my campus, online, just about abusive relationships in general, healing, self-care, what that looks like on a practical level. So
That is beautiful. And for you, I'm glad that you came to that realization that sharing your story could be healing. And in the process, you are attracting people to you that need to hear that story. And I think that is also very important for people that don't necessarily identify with the circumstances that you went through to still understand it, because we're in this world together. So being more empathetic toward people that are in those situations is key, because we are already stressed with different things that happen in our life, just basic human living conditions, So then when you have situations like this compounded with just general living stress, that's when people get to the end of the rope and they don't know how to hold on. So I love that. I'm not very familiar with abusive relationships and with the severity of how that it can impact you to the point where you have PTSD. But I know people that are in those situations, and sometimes it can be very easy to say, well, why don't you just get out of it? You know, what's wrong with you? You know, but understanding the story and the mental process behind why you might choose to stay in that kind of relationship, why you might choose to put up with certain things, it allows us to be more empathetic.
Yeah.
I'm not always the most empathetic person. So hearing those kind of stories, I think it can also resonate with the general population, not just people that may have experienced what you're experiencing.
Right.
That's beautiful. Can you tell us a little bit about your draw to your community? When you say that people are drawn to your content, have you found a situation where someone said, because of your content, it inspired me into action. It inspired me to do XYZ to help provide myself with the self-love and care that I deserve?
Yeah, I've had a couple, some like, you know, women that have read from like my Instagram account, read my story there, and I don't know them. But one of the ones that stands out to me the most is a girl I'd actually known in high school, who I didn't know her well enough to know that she had even experienced anything like that. I had no idea. And she reached out to me and was like, hey, I just wanted to let you know what you wrote helped me realize like things about myself, and it helped me open up to a therapist about it more. It helped me open up to my friends. And now I'm feeling better. I feel like a weight's been lifted. And so that was like this really cool, like, wow, it helps. It helps people. And then another, which is like my favorite. Oh my goodness. This makes me so happy every time I hear it. I had a male friend of mine reach out to me, and he said, hey, I just wanted to let you know, like, you sharing this, I know this probably wasn't your intended impact, but I am very aware that I was abusive towards my ex-girlfriend. And I wanted to let you know that you writing this helped me realize, you know, that this may have been a pattern in my life before, but it doesn't have to be who I am anymore. And that freed me a lot. And
Wow.
big steps. So that was like realizing that there's two sides to every story, and that, you know, there's forgiveness, there's hope and mercy everywhere. Like that was something that really like,
I love that. Yes, because we often look at the person that is, I'm going to use this in quotation marks, but the person that is victimized, but we don't always empathize or look at it from the perspective of the person that's actually doing the abusive behavior, and understanding that there's always a why behind why someone is doing the things that they're doing. And sometimes that stems all the way from how they were treated as a child. And they didn't necessarily have control over how they were treated as a 2-year-old. You know what I mean? So sometimes taking a step back and thinking about, well, why exactly is this person the way that they are, and why are they treating me this way? That particular person always has a story as well. You know, when you understand that story, you can begin to empathize. It doesn't make the behavior right, but not everything that we do is right either. We're not perfect, you know. So we choose to do things that are aligned with our story. That's not always the best of humanity, you know. So we have to empathize with people that come from a place where they don't have it all together. You know what I mean? That is awesome. What are your next steps when it comes to developing your brand online and wanting to impact people on a larger scale? And I'm sure that you're also open to collaborations. So what are some things that you're thinking about doing, or some next steps?
Well, first off, it's just sticking to my regular posting schedule, which is I lose track of it so easily. So that's like my main goal, is like, you know, be consistent. But I really want to collaborate. I would love to do trying to like an interview kind of deal, but written, and just get perspectives from different people around the world, around the US, on their experiences. I really want to focus on like wellness and healthy living, and dealing with mental health or physical health or whatever. So that's kind of in the works, trying to figure out how I want that to look on my blog and my platform. But I really want to do that because I want to help other people tell their stories as well. So
Yeah, that is something that's definitely necessary. And I think that sometimes people don't know how to go about doing it because they come across people that may judge them in their normal everyday life. So for some people, it's like, well, if every time I put myself out there, people are judging me or talking negative about me, I'm not gonna put myself out there. So I think that you allowing a safe platform for people to do that and to share their story and really be heard and appreciated is something that we definitely need. I think most people walk around with a mask on. They don't know how to live authentically. They don't know how to share what their struggles are. And we're all hurting in some way, shape, or form. It might be a little bit of hurt compared to someone else's big hurt. But the fact of the matter is that we all want to be loved and supported and appreciated. So I love that idea. Can you talk a little bit about those people that don't necessarily have the support that they need? Because not everybody has close family and friends that support them in the way that they want to be supported. So they may be supporting them emotionally, but they're not necessarily supporting them from a practical standpoint where they really know how to offer the tools that you need for your specific career development or your specific life purpose.
I think honestly, my first thing that I'm going to recommend to anyone is counseling. Find a therapist. Find group counseling. That was pivotal for me. Going into a group therapy session and realizing, like, oh my word, I'm not alone in this, and these people aren't going to judge me for anything I say because they're going through a very similar thing.
Yeah.
That's easy to find. Like it's a Google search away. You can Google like whatever you're dealing with, and then group therapy. A lot of times churches will offer it, community centers, resource centers. Like it's such an accessible thing, especially today. So that's the first thing I'm going to recommend to anyone. I'm also studying therapy, so it's like it's a bit of a bias there. But it's definitely helped me in my journey. And it's always good to have a listening ear who's not going to judge you and who's going to meet you where you are. I would say too, find ways to learn more about yourself. That sounds like it's not a resource, but really you are your greatest resource. You have the strength and the tools within you to do what you need to do. And so whether that's learning more about how your body works and getting more like just researching, hey, here's my body type. What should I eat? How often should I work out? What should my workouts look like? That will help you. That will help you more balance your emotions, your time. That's been something that's really helped me. And so that's another thing I really recommend. Whereas it's not, you don't really think of health as a resource, but it really is. I'd say too, like plug in online. I mean, I've found so much support just on Instagram and blogging because I think there's a fear factor taken away when it's in a blogging situation or on an online platform because you're not face to face with someone. You don't have to risk seeing like a judging glance, when you're speaking. But yeah, look for that because there's people out there. I mean, people like me, people like Ebonie, like that. If you share your story, we're gonna listen and we're gonna be like, okay, cool, let's talk about it. Let me help you. I want to support you. So really, those are like three pretty practical things: counseling, take care of yourself, make room for self-care, and just reach out where you can because sometimes you don't have access to like a lot of relationships near you, and sometimes families aren't always supportive. So you got to do what you got to do.
Yes, and in this world of social media and the online space, even if it's not your thing to reach out and form long-lasting social media relationships, you can utilize social media, as you said, or other online platforms to connect with local people.
Yes.
In my area, there's groups on almost any topic you could think of that meet on a weekly or a bi-weekly or a monthly basis. And these are people that are also interested in whatever that topic area is. So when you attend that event, guess what's going to happen? You already have at least one thing in common. It's not like when you go to certain events and you're like, I don't know, am I going to like the people there? Am I going to have anything in common with those people? Well, if you're researching a self-development group, most likely those are people that are interested in self-development. If you're researching a painting group, most likely those are people that are interested in painting. You know, they're not going to attend something that they don't have a natural interest in. You've just formed commonality and a bond with people that can help support you through life. Because I know that for some people, they may have family that supports their vision, but they don't know how to offer the practical help, especially in the social media influencer world, because it's new to a lot of older generations, but even to people that are around your same age group, your peers, because it's not something that they do, and they don't understand, why is this person putting out a vulnerable blog about their sexual abuse or about their mental health issue or about how they overeat or about how they're bulimic? Like, why are they putting out all their business? You know, because they're not used to doing that. Most people are not used to taking off the mask, as I said earlier. So looking for those people that are in sync with your goals and the way that you want to carry out those goals is particularly important, especially those days that you don't necessarily feel like being inspirational. You know, if I go on Instagram and I see Annalee's content, uplifting content, and I'm seeing this person's uplifting content, and then this person's uplifting content, most likely I am not going to stay down in the dumps for very long. Can you tell us about a time when, say for instance, you felt like, you know, I really should be putting out content, like you talked earlier about being consistent. So I really should be putting out content. I really should be inspiring. I really should be motivational. But today, I'm not really feeling it. And so I'm not going to do anything. Or you chose to go ahead and put out motivational content, but in your heart, you really weren't feeling it. You were like, I'm just doing it because I'm supposed to do it. Can you talk about those times?
Yeah, I have a lot of those times. There are some days I'm like, I don't want to have to think through a post. I don't want to have to speak to the outside world, or I just have so much on my plate, especially during like finals time a couple months ago. I did not feel like blogging. I just like, I have enough on my plate. I don't want to have to write something. So I'll admit during finals, I wasn't really doing much, but I mean, that was kind of like, I had to study, you know, I had papers to write. But
Right.
on some days, I just, like, especially if I have a low self-esteem day or something, I'm like, the last thing I want to do is like put myself out there and be like, yeah, I don't like myself today. Let me inspire you. Like, it's, the appeal kind of goes away on those days. So lately I've just been, instead of like finding things that are like motivational or like, yeah, let me build you up, I'm just dead honest with my day. Like, I posted something last night about my faith and something I was convicted about. Like, in no way was it warm and fuzzy, but it was just very raw and going like, hey guys, like, this is me right now. This is how I'm feeling about something.
Mm-hmm.
Here you go. And actually people respond way better to you being honest about something than, here's a motivational quote for you. It's when you start to share, like what I shared like at the very beginning, like your story can unlock someone's prison. Like, that's true. So that's what I try to stick with. When I'm not feeling it, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to be honest and see how that goes.
Yeah, and you know, you can always talk about the fact that you're not feeling it. I've read several blog articles. The earlier part of this year, I remember there were some days where I just felt like crap. And I was like, well, I guess I'll just write about how I'm feeling like crap, you know? And people connected with it. You know, it's just like, you know, it's just it was my life for those few days. And I just talked about that experience. And I think that people will still resonate with it, because we all know that we don't always have high quality days. You know, that's all of us. So being able to put myself out there and let them know that not every day is a perfect day. And there's some days that I'm going to eat cheesecake for breakfast, you know, and I'm going to indulge probably a couple more times that day, even though I'm a health and wellness coach. you know, I just like when people are real and transparent. I don't really connect with people that are very guarded or very I eat salad all day every day, because I don't. So That's good for you, but I don't, so I'm going to put out there the way that I live life. And generally I attract those people that are just very real, whether that is real in a way that I can identify with, or real in a way I can't identify with, because sometimes people have a tendency to say that, I'm real, but they're not necessarily social media influencer realness, like trying to be positive, but they are real. They're real to who they are, and I really do appreciate those people. It's not like everybody's perfect. I know I'm not perfect, so I'm not expecting perfection. I'm expecting realness, you know. So I appreciate everything that you're doing. I love your content. I love the fact that you display a human quality with your content. It's not put out there just to be aesthetic and pretty. You display the human element, and that's what life is about. Can you real quickly just share your Instagram handle or any way that people can connect with you? And I will have all of your information in the description box. So those of you that are listening, you do not have to go scramble and get a piece of paper right now, but can you just real quickly share with us the best way that people can contact you?
Yeah, best way is through my Instagram. I'm on there all the time. So the handle is @adelightedmind, and I respond pretty quickly. So there's that.
Awesome. And as you have new things coming up, if you decide you want to write a book or you want any type of project that you would like people to know about, please update us. And we would love to even hear a part 2 of your journey later on if you're ever interested. And for those of you that are listening, if you are ever interested in sharing your story, please reach out to me. As I said, all of my contact info is in the description box. Reach out to me because people need it. And as you heard Leigh talk about, it's not always the bright days that you can talk about. You can talk about your low days, and people will resonate with that message as well and feel that they're not alone. Share this content with women that you believe that can benefit from this as well. It's particularly important to me to be able to share a message of love throughout the world, not just my local community. So share this out to people that can benefit. And wherever you are in the world, always remember that there are people that can support you. If you don't have anywhere else to turn to, you'll notice that I have a Nutrition for Busy Women Facebook group, and it's a positive, like-minded, purpose-driven woman group where we're constantly encouraging and motivating each other. So if you don't have anywhere to turn, I invite you to join that group, and you get a complimentary gift for doing so. Anna, Leigh, any last words that you want to share with us?
Be real. Just be yourselves. Share it. It helps people. That's my...
Be real, be yourself, and help people. I think that we can all benefit from doing that. And the more that we do it, the more comfortable we will get with doing it, and the more that each other and ourselves will thrive and grow. So thank you. I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
You guys have an awesome day wherever you are in the world, and I hope to connect with you again in one of my future episodes. I'll talk to you all soon.